or getting a hold of the Jaguar manufacturer and just hitting their executive team. I'm like, that is amazing. It kind of goes back to like what my World War II grandfather used to say. You can really kick ass from the top down. What's up, people? Today I want to talk about how car dealerships rip you off. Yeah, we all know it, or at least feel it, but I'm going to tell you how they do it, at least in the service department. So, first of all, I don't have anything against any particular car dealership, but when you go through your entire lifetime and see patterns that relate to basically all of them, for the most part, to where you get to the point where you avoid them because why would you want to lose money hand over fist from the day you walk in there to the day you drive off to the day you have to go back in? Like, literally, car dealerships are the worst. And I don't understand who in America can afford to lose this kind of money on cars and service. So I want to talk about service departments and how you all, when you have to deal with a car dealership or you have a friend dealing with a car dealership and you're sure they're getting ripped off, maybe you can see some of these signs and learn how to deal with it. So for today's, I want to talk about warranty work on cars. Cars, new or used cars that you may buy. Now this relates to factory warranties from newer cars. I have never bought a new car because I don't like losing money hand over fist. So I buy cars that have pretty much bottomed out in market value because you're not going to lose money, and that's suited me much better. But that doesn't work for everybody, and some people buy new cars. The first story I want to talk about actually relates to an ex-girlfriend and a Honda she had, and then I got a huge story about how a really close car friend of mine got completely screwed at a Jaguar dealership. It was hilarious and incredible, and we had to get the factory involved. It was so bad. So anyway, going way back when, I had an ex-girlfriend of mine who had a Honda Civic, bought it new. And if I remember correctly, it started making a funky noise, and there's something relating to a belt tensioner of one of the ancillary items, pulleys. You know, we're talking like power steering, air conditioning, alternator, that sort of thing. And of course, you got your belts to drive that, and you've got pulleys and such. So there was a tensioner part of this that was failing relating to a bearing, if I recall that correctly. It isn't specifically important, the thing that went bad, it's the whole scenario of this and what came to be. So anyway, we go to the dealership and I come along and I keep my mouth shut because that's generally the best way to do it and just observe. So I walk into the service department and said, sir, there's, her car's under warranty and it's making a funky noise with the engine. Seems to be something in the area of the belts. I'm not going to talk like a total know-it-all, even though I knew what it was. Let them check it out. That way they can diagnose it and do it under warranty work. So we go in there and they say, oh yeah, no problem, we'll go through the service department right now. So they go in, I think she and I went and got lunch. We came back and they told us that one, there was an inspection fee. I don't know, they were trying to charge, I think it was something like $200 just for them to have looked at it today. That was one item. The second one was that it was in no way under warranty because that's not the engine and that's not part of the whole drivetrain, and that the bill was gonna be, I don't know, could have been $400, $800, $1,500. Regardless, a heck of a lot of money for anybody, and not cool, not cool. And this is a big, noteworthy Honda dealership. And I said, okay, first of all, that's under warranty, and argue with the guy, and he absolutely said no. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a no-win scenario right now. I said, okay, fine. Well, we're just going to take the car right now because it was still drivable, still reasonable. We're going to take the car right now, and I'm gonna go from there. He goes, well, there's a $200 inspection fee. I said, no, there's not. Because one, you didn't disclose that when we came in here at all. This is an item that should be under warranty. We're not paying it. And they tried to give me the runaround and her the runaround, which they started with her because for these car salesmen and these slimy, well, I can't say what I think, but these individuals, they start with the weak person first. And oftentimes with a woman, if they think that they can get her to throw her hands up and just get emotionally bothered, she'll just pay it regardless of what the guy with her said. That doesn't work for me. I don't like people getting screwed. So I dug my heels in and I wasn't going to have it because you just can't do that. And we didn't have to pay for it. So of course I went home and, insert a fair amount of chutzpah there. I just called up, Honda representatives in North America. And how I started this conversation was, and I want to point this out because when you're speaking with car people, it doesn't matter if it's a factory, aftermarket parts place, a mechanic, a sales place, or a dealership, They're sizing you up every step along the way. So you can't just start with, well, the dealership said it was this, but I think it's a warranty item. Well, they'll be like, well, default to the dealership, because you get screwed, not the places relating to the car company, the dealership. So I had to start this way. I said, hi, I was just checking with regard to a car I have, and I didn't say it was my girlfriend's. Start with the car I have. And it's a, so-and-so Honda Civic. It's this year. She bought it new. I just want to double check with you. What is the warranty on that? And what does it cover exactly in its entirety, and for how long, under what circumstances? See, I'm pinpointing them first to tell me what it covers. See that? See the first move there? And they told me. I said, okay, with regard to the engine, what exactly do you mean by engine? Are you just speaking engine internals like blockheads, cams, pistons and stuff? And they said, no, in this circumstance, it's everything relating to the engine unit, ancillaries. And I said, so that relates to all the belts that drive it and the pulleys on the front and everything relating there? And they said, yes. Got them. Warranty item. I knew it. I said, well, I appreciate you telling me that, because actually, full disclosure, it's my girlfriend's car. And we just went by a Honda dealership where she bought it. And this is the exact problem she has, which I've seen on the internet is a common fault for these and a warranty item. And that, of what you just told me, verified that it is indeed under warranty. But the dealership told us that it was not. Can you please confirm that it's under warranty? And they did. It was. And I said, well, the dealership we went to, I told them exactly that. Everything we just discussed about how this was part of the warranty item, exactly what the issue was, exactly what was happening. And not only did they refuse to take it under warranty, but they also tried to charge me an inspection fee. Well, naturally, the representatives for the manufacturer were peeved. So I had to call in an airstrike, so to speak. Boom! I called the factory representatives so the dealership wouldn't screw over my girlfriend with that. And of course, we got it taken care of. I got all the connections. I don't know if they gave me like a specific reference number or whatnot, but I coordinated so they could be in touch with that dealership. So the next time we brought in, already taken care of. I'm not taking any crap. And it was funny because when we got to the dealership, they still, I don't know, I still try to sell some other things and get us for money on other aspects of the car, which is just absolute horse manure. And that was the first big lesson I had. I want you guys to learn from that. But the big story I want to tell you about is just like insane, completely insane. And you've got to know this, because this is how people get screwed. And by the way, if you hear a leaf blow over there, I'm sorry, but it's the real world. Bear with me. So I was on a really cool rally with some exotic car and sports car friends. We were bombing around the Midwest, Columbus, Cincinnati, Chicago, coming back. Not a crazy one, just having good fun. And, there were guys with BMWs. I had the Viper with my wife on it. Buddy had a Jaguar. I think there was a couple Lamborghinis, some Porsches. You know what I mean. And we were all stickered up, looking like little kids driving around, and it rained half the time. But we had a good time having fun together. Well, my buddy that's got the Jaguar, and it was an F-Type, it was V8 and stick shift, if I'm not mistaken. And good-looking car. He's a real smart guy, actually a pilot. So he's very mechanically sympathetic, understands machines rather well, even if he's not a mechanic and car builder. So we're all driving around, and we go to leave, and we all get a text from him that his car, no, I take that back, sorry. We're just getting to Chicago, and all of a sudden he was late to one of the meeting points. Of course, we all made fun of him. But then we found out that it won't stop and start. Like when he pushes the clutch, it's not working properly, and it's trying to grind the gears. And I'm like, wow. Dude, whatever. So he's all distraught, right? And at this point in our relationship, he doesn't know that I really, really, really know cars yet. And he's all distraught, and everybody's like all up in his business. So I'm just kind of like being chill and staying back. And I said, when he calmed down for a sec, I said, do this. With the car not even running, just pump the clutch pedal a few times, in and out, because it's a hydraulic clutch line. Just all the way down, up, maybe do it like 5 times. Then immediately start the car and go to drive it like you normally would. He's like, whatever. Starts the car after he pumps it up, starts it up, pushes the clutch in, sticks it in gear, drives off normal. He can shift, not grinding the gears. And he's like, what are you, a magician? He looked at me like, I just behold the lightning bolt of healing of, Jeebus. To his Jaguar, right? And I'm like, dude, here's the thing. you have one of a couple problems going on. First of all, there's nothing wrong with your car, your transmission, the actual clutch disc, or anything. Your car has a hydraulic clutch line. So first, pop the hood, let me see what's going on. And I looked at it, and if I wasn't mistaken, the reservoir for the clutch fluid is also shared by the brakes. I think it might have an internal separation. I could be wrong, maybe they're separate. But either way, I looked at it, and it wasn't like way down on fluid. So it wasn't totally using fluid. This was just happening. But what was the matter was, clearly there's an issue with either the master cylinder or slave cylinder of the clutch system. Now those aspects, the master cylinder is connected to the pedal, so when you push the pedal, it forces hydraulic fluid to the slave cylinder. And then the slave cylinder simply just pushes something that then, depresses the diaphragm and little spring fingers in the clutch, disengaging the clutch so you can shift gears, start and stop the car and do all that. So nothing wrong with the engine, the clutch, or the transmission. It's just a matter of the hydraulic system that's actuating it. But annoyingly on the Jaguar, the slave cylinder was an annular bearing type. So on old school cars, muscle cars, things like that, some of those were mechanically operated, but they would have a slave cylinder, oftentimes older cars, on the outside of the bell housing of the transmission, and then there'd be a lever that goes over and pushes the clutch. Then later, as we progressed with manufacturing and race cars, it would have a slave cylinder here that had more seals, and it would actually go around the input shaft of the transmission, and it would push perfectly against the clutch. Okay, and I know all you trolls are probably making fun of my gestures right now. But the problem with those slave cylinders is if your seal goes bad and it starts leaking and you got to fix it, that means you actually have to separate the transmission from the engine, possibly take the engine out, transmission out. It's a big pain in the butt. It stinks. You could have nothing wrong with your engine, tranny, or clutch, but now you got to take all this apart just to replace a seal in a slave cylinder. Just silly for reliability, right? So, but no big deal. This is obviously a warranty item on this very new Jaguar. So, and fortunately it wasn't like super leaking. It wasn't leaking a lot of fluid. We didn't see anything dripping. So I'm like, dude, you might have to limp it home. You might have to pump it every once in a while. Get yourself on the highway and just drive in top gear for a long time. When you come slow down, pump it up. Make sure you got pressure so you can stop. And you don't do any damage, and just be good to your car. If it goes out completely, then obviously you're going to have it towed somewhere proper. And he was all happy, and the Jaguar drove fine for the next day, like no issues with the clutch at all. Just pumping that once or twice, either move the bubbles or move the fluid, whatever it did, made it drive perfectly normally. No issues at all. So the next day, rally's over, and he writes me shipping it to this Jaguar dealership, and no big deal, it's warranty item, they're going to do it. And then he gets with me, and we have this series of back and forth for a long time. And I'm like, no, dude, they're totally screwing you over. Don't take that crap. It's manipulation and coercion tactics. That's under warranty. That's horse crap. You want me to get him? I got this. So he came back, and he says that the shop manager wasn't going to warranty it out. Refuses. Because he said it was abuse on the car. Now, first of all, they're already trying to take advantage of my friend because it's got rally stickers on it. We were driving on the street legally, no abuse here going on. Not to mention the fact that if you in fact were abusing a car, you'd be hurting the clutch disc, the transmission, or the engine or something like that, not the slave cylinder, which had nothing to do with. Not to mention the fact that there was zero evidence of any kind of abuse or negative driving, including his entire record. So they were trying to use that against him because they don't want to warranty it out. I don't really know why exactly, but clearly it has to do with money and time and annoyance for the people in the dealership. So for the dealership, it's easier just to browbeat somebody hoping they're a little ignorant and they don't care and money's no big deal to them because they're from out of town anyway, and they screw you over, okay? So I told my buddy, I said, they're just trying to screw you over. I know exactly what's wrong with the car, and it's a warranty item. You didn't hurt it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. They just don't want to do the job. And I said, have them send you pictures of the bell housing, the clutch, and everything in there. And they actually did. And the bell housing, you could tell that was a bit wet, and bell housings get dirty because there is some of the, clutch friction disc is wearing. It's similar to brakes, like kind of having brake dust, but no obscene wear of any kind. You can just tell by looking at the friction disc and, no crazy balloon or anything like that, but it is a little bit wet. Now, wetness can come from only 3 places in a bell housing that doesn't include water like you submerge a car or something. 3 places. It's either coming from your engine oil and leaking past a main seal where your crankshaft output is. It's coming from the input shaft area to your transmission as tranny fluid, or your slave cylinder is leaking all the place. Now, for all you guys paying attention, even if you're not mechanics, you're probably guessing, I already know which one this is. Well, you do. It's the slave cylinder. It was hydraulic fluid, which is, gross. Brake fluid, hydraulic, fluid for cars. Feels gross. It smells kind of gross. It's just gross. And mixed with a little bit of dust, it wasn't pleasant. And I said to him, there's nothing leaking down the side of the engine. There's nothing coming out of the tranny. It's not the main seals. You got proof right here that it's a slave cylinder leaking. The slave cylinder has absolutely nothing to do with how a car is driven. The only thing the slave cylinder knows is how many times the clutch gets pushed in and out. And these cars are supposed to be designed to last 100,000 plus miles and decades. And this thing's going out with 5,000 miles on it or 10,000 miles. Come on. It was super low miles, obviously a defect in manufacturing for a car that had a low production run of manual transmission Jaguar F-Types, right? So this dealership's getting all pissy, and now they're trying to use scare tactics on us. You need to fix it. It's going to cost this much. Here's the estimate. Oh, it's so beat up. It's so beat up, it just smells. The clutch is roasted. And two of my guys had to go home because the smell was making them nauseous. And if you don't pay up, we're going to charge you storage fees, $200 a day, or something ridiculous like that. So the dealership was using nothing but scare and coercion tactics. Now, first of all, if a dealership is doing that to you, you're either horrific, which I doubt is the case as a client, or they stink and they're screwing you over and they're trying to scare you. That also goes true with a lot of other things in life and in business, okay? So the fact that he's all hot and bothered, we already got him. I already know what he's doing. I can see all the evidence right here. So let's talk about this idiot's argument. When he is saying it smells so bad like it's roasted and everything like that, if there was a smell, and I'm saying if, the only reason is because if that hydraulic fluid from the annular bearing, the slave cylinder, got out and got to the clutch and somehow made itself to the friction disc, that could provide a bad smell because clutches do get hot. Just for that moment that you're slipping, I'm not talking about like burning them up. I'm just talking hot. And that's gross and it'll start to stink and look ugly. And in the event of contamination, that would ruin your clutch disc, okay, the friction disc material. But that also, frankly, should be warranted because if your slave cylinder, everything's going out like that, or if you had a main seal going out and then that was contaminating the clutch, it's a chicken and egg, okay? The factory crap went bad. It destroyed other things in the process. That's your issue. That's a warranty issue, right? So this dealership is fighting him back and forth. Bad scare tactics, getting all crazy. So my buddy's a smart guy. He's all freaked out, right? I'm trying to help him, but I'm like, dude, I'm not just being a buddy and telling you that they're wrong and you're right. I'm telling you, you are actually being screwed, and this is not cool. We got to do something. So he's pushing back. It's going back and forth. It's just ridiculous. And I'm like, you want me to call him? Go ahead. Try to put the wool over my eyes, dealership guys. So anyway, it doesn't come to that, but he's checking the internet, right? And he's seeing where other people with these manual transmission Jaguars, which are pretty rare in the States, have had the exact same problem. And there are other dealerships in the country that are totally cool. They get it's a warranty item. They've fixed it, okay? No big deal. So he actually, I think, called a couple of those places. And he's like, yeah, sorry, man, you got it at that other dealership. We'd totally fix it. We'd fix a bunch of them, you know? And then he called some other ones. And then, check this out. So when he calls this really shady dealership service manager guy back at the Jaguar place, the guy's like, you're talking other ones, you can't do that, and then tries to use like a final scare tactic of like this, the network, it's not gonna work, you can't call the factory, we're gonna ban you, blah, 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 charge you all this money, everything. Just total like cheap Chicago scare tactics. Like, dude, come on. If you're gonna like manipulate people, at least be good at it. So it goes on and on like that. I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to make this happen. Like, this is crap. It's never gonna work. I'm sorry about your car. And at this point, my buddy is totally sick of Jaguar. I mean, this dealership is ruining the mark for a guy who loves it and is representing the mark for a rally for a lot of people, social media, and have seen it. So this dealership, this guy is just an absolute buffoon. I have no idea what his deal is. But so the last straw is my buddy got smart. And he actually ended up calling getting a hold of the Jaguar manufacturer and just hitting their executive team. I'm like, that is amazing. It kind of goes back to like what my World War II grandfather used to say. You can really kick ass from the top down, or you know what rolls downhill. You know what I'm saying? So they immediately put him in touch with the marketing people internationally, the world, and they're like, well, absolutely, this is in fact a warranty item, as you said, and I am so sorry for your issue. It'll be paid for completely. And I said, dude, see that? The company actually made good. So big lesson right there is dealerships are privately owned. They can have garbage, crappy leadership. That's why I don't like them. But sadly, it's a reflection of a car company. Fortunately, the car company made right, and now it's the car company's responsibility to go to the dealership, and they have that authority, okay? So the car got fixed, and my buddy didn't have to pay for it. Just like that time where my girlfriend's car got fixed, and she didn't have to pay for it because it was a warranty item. So the moral of the story is here, guys, first of all, I can't tell you why those dealerships wanted to screw over my friends. Obviously, it was for a monetary or time. They didn't want the hassle, or they make more money just having somebody pay for it, and they think we're all a bunch of idiots, and we just go along with it. Well, we're not a bunch of idiots. You're a bunch of idiots, you dealership people. Stop trying to screw people over. And if you can only make a living by screwing people over, it's time for you to get a better job. So that's it, guys. Don't try to work a dealership. Don't be people who work the system, But call somebody smart if you suspect you're getting screwed, and be understanding. And, cars are a very complex machine. So you have to realize that. Don't just immediately think you're getting screwed, because frankly, you may have a totally above board dealership or service or mechanic place that is doing you solid and doing a great job. But you don't know, and if you've had negative experiences, you might actually be beating up on people who don't deserve it. But if you sense you might be getting screwed, you've done your due diligence and everything's going on, and you check with the factory, especially with the dealership. Don't hold back on them. They make plenty of money. Then look into it. Do not be afraid to dig your heels in. I don't care if you're shy. I don't care if you're a young woman and these people are trying to intimidate you. You hold your ground. You know what's right, and you make it happen. All right? I don't know. I hope it's a little entertaining. I hope it helps, because I hate seeing people get screwed when it comes to cars. It should be a lot of fun, and whether that's a brand new car or it's a vintage car, you should at least be able to enjoy it and make educated decisions on your own, and be able to manage your own risk assessment of your vehicle and your resources to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, that you will like, comment, and please subscribe. See you guys next time.